I think I will start with the last part of the topic of the discussion, which is a little bit more negative. Or first of all, just to connect to what was said earlier, actually we are part of the latest hub, which was funded, which is called FACT. And my colleagues are working on monitoring in Moldova in the online environment, which seems to be quite a challenge, but I will get back to it. But if you're interested in looking a little bit in how the informational space looks now in Moldova, I would recommend to read our short analysis mostly on TikTok, because that became the main instrument. I would like just to point out a few things which we've seen from, let's say, the past 2 years from the Romanian and the Moldovan elections. Romania was mentioned a few times. You know, I always when I enter into a room and we have this topic. Well, in Romania it happened this and that. Well, it did, and I think we're probably not the first, but we're probably the first serious victim, probably, of this. Firstly, of lack of action, I would say. What we have seen is, firstly, I would say a decrease in transparency of political finance. You know, we were used with the classical type of financing, with the, I don't know, having some prints, having some online, some TV. But for us, at least, it was the first time when we have seen how you can cheat the system. And we have seen in very many ways, including crypto payments in crypto. We have seen off-the-platform payments, and I think this also connects very well to what we were saying earlier about in the previous panel about the issue with TikTok, because basically officially they do not support political advertising, but in fact you have all these platforms which are somehow engaging with TikTokers to do political advertising, and also you have the covert campaigns with I don't know, plant lovers who the next day start doing very rough political campaigning. So I think that's a huge gap. Also, I think, and by the way, what's very interesting now, and I think here I would like to congratulate journalists, which I think in many cases did more than our authorities, at least in Romania. But we have seen recently, at least in some Moldovan investigations, which were very recent, that there were some of those who work now for Moldova work for Georgescu, which was our failed candidate last year. So I think it shows you a little bit the dimension, you know, and the denial of the candidate, that he's not supported by external forces. And now here we speak about Russia. So I think it connects very well to see that, you know, it's not unique, it's not targeted, but it's a bigger picture. What we also see, it's one of the major issue, actually, I think it's the issue of inauthentic coordinated behaviors, because I think one of the some of our major discoveries were related to this behavior. Now in Moldova it happens the same as we had in 2024, and I think what's worse, in 2025, when you had the repeated elections, our main politicians adopted Georgescu's behavior instead of condemning it. I mean, our prime minister was doing "Get Ready with Me" movies in the morning on TikTok. So I think this is one of the issues, and on one side we have the unclear definition on what inauthentic behavior is, but we also see a lack of actions from the platforms to do something with it. There was just a declaration of the head of police in Moldova, who was sending complaints to TikTok on this kind of behavior, and 85% of the content was not removed. We had the same issue in Romania. There were campaigns which were so clearly unnatural, accounts which were coordinated, which were, I don't know, were not real, and they are still there, by the way, almost 1 year after. So I think this is one of the main issues. We are also struggling a lot with data, and I think that was mentioned earlier, because what we do is mostly based, for example, on TikTok, the analysis is based on tags, or we don't have access to real data. So what we see there are pieces. You try to connect pieces, but you don't know how much is the big picture and how bad it affects actually the process. And I think what we've seen here, also last year in Romania, but also what we see here in Moldova, we are not talking about campaigns in the end. I mean, because this is not, the classical elections when somebody comes to expose the view of the party. I think this is a fight on who can impose more stronger. We see connections with, organized criminal groups who are doing campaigning. So I think we kind of lost the fundament of elections, and basically on one side there are institutions who are struggling to stop this behavior, if there are, and in Romania we were quite critical because we still don't have a report about last year, for example. If you ask me if I can give you a complete answer or what happened in 2024, well, I don't have one. The Prosecutor General just revealed after 1 year almost some issues which were already in the media in our reports from last year. So I think this also shows a little bit the lack of action of some of the institutions at national level. I don't know if I have more time, but
1 minute.
Okay, so maybe I will end with the issue of TTPA. I think on one side we already had the issue of TikTok, which said they don't accept political advertising, but in fact the platform is doing it without any kind of transparency. So we don't even know the dimension of the payments, and legal or illegal, because as I was saying now, in the recent investigations, there are quite a lot of evidence of payments, in Moldova at least from Russia, payments through crypto, which are not very easily traceable, and that's it. But also I think the fact that we have Google and Meta withdrawing from the TTPA, I think it leaves a fundamental mechanism without strengths. I'm not saying that it won't be political advertising, probably it will be, but it will not be transparent and it will not be easy to mark. So basically for us as CSOs, what we can do, of course, is bring information to the public, to the institution. We can do complaints. For us, probably last year was the year with most complaints in our history in terms of electoral complaints. I think it leaves the playing field with huge issues. So thank you.
So let me challenge you. So would you say that now the TTPA, for example, and DSA, DMA, that they have improved conditions, or have they actually the unintended consequence of making the playing field more opaque than it was before, because now ads are going through different channels, and there more influencers get a more important role, and so on. So has it improved things, or has it complicated things more?
Well, I think we should separate them. I wouldn't put them in the same bucket. I think DSA moved a lot of things forward, and I think there was an instrument which helped a lot, including in the communication with the platforms, because during this entire period it facilitated the communication. What they do is the second part. And I think as we saw in the first part of the discussion, there are limited actions even the Commission can do or not. We have seen the positions in the morning. On the other side, the TTPA, I think Romania probably was the first country to implement a prototype, because during these elections in May, we kind of adopted some parts which were not already into force. It was a failure, if you ask me. Because why I think it failed in Romania is that authorities focused on marking everything, don't leave anything without a marking, but they didn't look at the big picture, this authentic behavior. Just to give you a number, there were 50,000 complaints on markings of political advertising. 30,000 were closed because they didn't have the capacity to administer them. But this was just a peak. TTPA should enter into force in October, so we'll see what happens afterwards. But if you have the main players out, I think it's a self-explanatory conclusions, maybe.
Thanks, Septimius.